To find the x-intercepts for a parabola basically means a parabola is going to be shaped either like this or like this. In intermediate algebra and pre-calculus, it's also possible to have them go sideways left and right, but at this point, this is what we've got, either up or down. With this being a negative x squared, it's going to be this situation where it's down. Then x-intercept means if you draw the x and y-axis, then where is it hitting the x-axis? So there's the first part, the x-intercepts. And for that, we would set y equal to 0 and then solve. Also, we're being asked for the vertex. The vertex would be this highest point right here. Well, because these things are symmetric, what you can do is find out, for example, if this was x equals 1 and this is where x equals 3, then this has to be directly in the middle, so that would be x equals 2. But first we need to find the two x-intercepts. Okay, that's the idea. Now let's get started. So for x-intercepts, you let y equal 0. So 0 on the left side. And we can either try and factor, which works sometimes, or we could use the quadratic formula, which works every time. I think this one can be factored, so I'm going to try and factor it. So we've got, usually the first coefficient should be positive. So what we could have done is multiply everything by a negative 1. But to make it a little more fun and challenging, I'm going to go ahead and use that negative. So in order to get negative x squared, I would need negative x times positive x. And then for a 4, I could either use 2 and 2 or 1 times 4. And I'm going to choose the 1 times 4 because if you have a 4 minus a 1, that would be a 3. And I think that's how we're going to get this middle term. So I'm going to use a 1 times a 4. Now I need that 4 to end up to be positive. So I could put a positive and a positive, or I could put a negative and a negative. Well, it's a matter of basically just guess and check. You put whatever you think might work, and then multiply it out and see if it works. If that doesn't work, then switch it. So I'm going to put negative, negative, mostly because I can sort of look forward to see, well, a negative 1 times a negative 4 will be this positive 4, so that works. And then when I do the FOIL, the outside 1 times the outside 1 is going to make a positive 4x. So this one and this one will be a positive 4x. And these two, when you multiply them, will be negative x. And so that leaves a grand total of positive 3x, which is exactly what it's supposed to be. Okay, so it's been factored. Now the next thing to do is set each factor equal to 0. So x minus 4 set equal to 0. And this one, negative x minus 1 set equal to 0. And then just solve these equations. So for this, I need to add 1 to both sides. Becomes a positive 1 on the right-hand side. And then to get rid of the negative in front of the x, you can either multiply both sides by negative 1 or divide both sides by negative 1. Either way, it's going to switch this to be x equals negative 1. And then to finish this one, just add 4 to both sides. So it's going to be x equals a positive 4. So if you were to sketch a graph, then over here at x equals negative 1, it's hitting the x-axis. And over here at x equals positive 4, it's hitting the x-axis. And like I said, because of the negative in front of the x squared, it's then upside down. So it would look something like this. And that top point is called the vertex. Well, like I said, it's symmetric, so we just need to find out what's in the middle of a -1 and a 4. To find that out, you could just average them. To find the average of two numbers, you add them together and divide by 2. So that's going to be a 3 divided by 2, or a 1.5. So right here, when x equals 1.5, that's where the vertex is going to occur. But the vertex is an actual point. It's an x and a y. So we need to find out, okay, if x equals 1.5, then how much is y? In order to do that, we would take the 1.5 and substitute it in for x over here. So the y will equal negative, and then 1.5 is squared, plus 3 times the 1.5 plus 4. Notice that in here the negative is not being squared, only the x. So it's only the 1.5 that's being squared. And now, with a little help from my friend, that's going to be negative, and 1.5 is squared, plus 3 times 1.5 plus 4. So y is equal to 6.25. So just finish that, 6.25. So there's the x-intercepts. And there's the vertex. So that's all of it.